Hey, how's it going? Today I'm going to be showing you how to build a multi-agent RAG pipeline using the Swarms framework. Most of the time, RAG is usually implemented with one agent or just individual agents. But today I'm going to show you how to integrate a RAG into multiple agents so they all have a shared memory system and they can all work together. So the repo here is called multi-agent dash multi-agent rag template. I'll put a link to this down below. Yeah, let's get started. You can get started by cloning this. So go to multi-agent rag template. Is that it? Yeah. Okay. We get our cursor loaded up, and yeah. So basically, what's going on here is we have the main file, and so within this main file, we're gonna instantiate our agent rearrange. Agent rearrange is essentially a swarm orchestration method that allows you to define how the agents talk to each other based off of their names. So for example, like here, we're giving the agent name and then we're specifying like, okay, so this agent is going to talk to that agent, and then this agent is going to talk to this agent. And essentially, here we have the medical data extractor talking to the diagnosis specialist, then a treatment planner, then specialist consultant, and then a patient care coordinator. And so all these agents are specialized for medical applications. And so yeah, so basically we have our agents here. The agent instantiation is pretty simple. We just give it a prompt and we give it some settings. And this is kind of like what the agents look like. We have a treatment planner, specialist consultant, patient care coordinator, and we just have a list of LLMs. Now this is using Grok. But we could change this to use OpenAI. I'm going to use Grok today because it's fast and fun. But you can use OpenAI just by changing the model name like this, and then you just delete that. But yeah, so that's how you use GPT-4o. If you use GPT-4o, it might be much more accurate. So I would recommend that in the case of you wanting like extreme accuracy, super high precision. Yeah, so the agents is kind of like component number one. And let me draw a little diagram. So basically we have some documents. Then we have our multi-agent pipeline, which has a bunch of agents within it. And then we're essentially going to communicate with this documents through the RAG. So we're going to essentially fetch, this is the RAG here. The agents are going to fetch the RAG, which then fetch these documents. And these are medical documents. So we have medical documents, and then this is a swarm, and that's basically the pipeline. It's pretty simple. But yeah, so here we have the llama index code. Basically how memory works in swarms is you give it a class, and you just need to have a query method. Here we have a query method that basically fetches the documents from the RAG system, and within this RAG system you basically give it a query, and then it'll fetch the latest documents. So if I make the code bigger, you might be able to see better. But yeah, basically this is the llama index code. You can integrate any RAG system into Swarms unless it has a query method. If it has a query method, you can integrate it pretty easily, and you can get started that way. So yeah, now that we have this made, this is going to fetch all the documents within the data directory. So we also have, let's see. We also have a fake data generator here. So I'm going to run this so we can generate data on some patients. But in production, you would, of course, use your own patient data. So here in the docs section, we have the data, and then we can check this data out. So this is the patient medical record. We have a patient medical record, patient ID, Crystal Rogers. This is all fake data, but we're going to essentially fetch, like, we're going to ask what, essentially create a report on Crystal Rogers, like medical history. So in the main file, this is where you actually run it. So you say here, create a full detailed analysis on Crystal Rogers medical history and a plan for treatment. And so we're going to run this and we're going to see what happens. So the agents are running now. The flow is medical data extractor is going to go first. And so it automatically redacts. The following key clinical indicators and relevant medical information have been extracted. Recurring episodes of severe abdominal pain. So let's see if this is... Let's see what's going on. So medical history, hypertension, hypertension, anxiety, door trade, really activity. This is just some stuff. Nausea and vomiting has been going on for weeks. Hypertension, and admit the patient to a hospital for further evaluation. It gives you essentially like a treatment plan, diagnostic testing. Then we have the diagnosis specialist, differential diagnosis, gastrointestinal cancer, high clinical probability, small bowel obstruction, possible mechanical obstruction due to adhesions or hernias, moderate clinical probability, inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, treatment planner. So pain management, initiate pain management with opioid analgesics, morphine, hydromorphine as needed for severe abdominal pain, proton pump inhibitors, consider PPIs, non-pharmacological interventions. It essentially gives you like a pretty detailed treatment plan. And then specialist consultant, cardiac monitoring. Given the patient's age and comorbidities, I recommend continuous cardiac monitoring to detect potential arrhythmias or cardiac complications related to chemotherapy or opioid analgesics. Neurology considerations, neurological examination, perform a sequential neurological examination to assess for potential neurological complications associated to chemotherapy. And then we have the patient care coordinator. Neurology considerations, additional recommendations. Then it gives you essentially like an action plan within the next 24 hours, arrange for cardiac monitoring, cardiac risk assessment within the next week, ongoing monitor for potential complications and considerations, schedule regular interview, and etc. Now we can also fetch by the, you can give it a patient ID. So you say patient ID, and it should be Crystal Rogers. Now let's see if that works pretty well. So all the agents here are connected all to the same RAG system. So they all have insight into the patient, and they all can see the same exact data. So all of them are connected to the same RAG system. So it fetches the right data: hypertension diagnosed, hyperlipidemia diagnosed 8 years ago, type 2 diabetes, medication history. It gives you like a full medication history, vital signs, blood pressure, lab results, imaging reports. And this is the diagnosis specialist. The patient presents with worsening symptoms of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, including increasing shortness of breath and fatigue over the past 6 months. The patient's medical history, medication list, vital signs, lab results, and imaging reports have been reviewed. differential diagnosis, exacerbation of COPD. Then it gives you the full diagnosis report, treatment planner. Based on the provided analysis, I agree with the potential differential diagnosis and recommended tests and imaging studies. However, I'd like to emphasize the importance of considering patient-specific factors, including age, morbidities, allergies, and contradictions. Non-pharmacological interventions, pulmonary rehabilitation, monitoring parameters and treatment, specialized insights and recommendations, patient care coordinator. So based on the medical team's specialized insights and recommendations, I have developed a comprehensive care plan that addresses the patient's complex and medical needs and considers their social determinants of health, patient resources, and access to care. Care plan objectives: manage hypertension and lymphedema to reduce cardiovascular risk, monitor and manage COPD symptoms to improve lung functions, address potential cognitive impairment and neuropathy, manage endocrine disorders including hypoglycemia and thyroid function. And yeah, it works pretty good. Now, if you wanted to make this much more reliable, I would recommend improving the RAG system. So making the RAG system much better will definitely allow you to have a really good RAG system. So this is a pretty simple implementation of Llama Index. I can see if ChatGPT knows Llama Index, so we could try and make it better. But improving the RAG system and how it performs, and also the data quality, will also yield you very good results. So here we could say, let's optimize this RAG code base and make it super reliable and production grade. So it's going to write the code. But yeah, so that's essentially how multi-agent RAG works. You integrate it in a couple of lines of code, well, one line, but formatted nicely. You give it your document file. What file do you want the docs to be embedded? It'll embed all those files within that directory. You can also give it a file name as an ID. You could also make it recursive and also have it fetch top 10 documents, or top 10 documents related to the input. So that's also a pretty nice feature, and all the code is in the main file here, so you can check that out and play around with it. And in the near future, we're going to be creating more content on essentially making the RAG system much more reliable, improving the accuracy, and also having much better data. So stay around for that, and hope you enjoyed this. If you like this content, please hit the notifications bell, subscribe. It really helps. And yeah, also check out the Swarms GitHub and help support it. And yeah, thank you for your time and have a good day.